The air hung thick and heavy in the dimly lit office, a suffocating blanket of stale coffee and desperation. It was 2 a.m., the only company I had, the persistent hum of the fluorescent lights and the rhythmic click-clack of my keyboard. The deadline loomed, a monstrous shadow stretching over my already exhausted mind. The project was a behemoth, a labyrinth of data and code that seemed to grow larger with every passing hour. I'd been at it for days, fueled by caffeine and the desperate hope that I wouldn't be the one to break the chain of late nights and frantic coding sessions. The team had been working tirelessly, but the pressure was mounting, and the air was thick with unspoken anxieties. I was on the final stretch, the last few lines of code standing between me and a semblance of normalcy. I could almost taste the freedom, the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. But then the lights flickered, a momentary lapse in the monotonous drone that sent a shiver down my spine. I dismissed it as a power fluctuation, a common occurrence in the old building. Yet a feeling of unease settled over me, a prickling sensation that wouldn't go away. The lights flickered again, this time for longer, plunging the office into an unsettling darkness. I reached for my phone, but it was dead. The silence was deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the building's ventilation system and the unsettling thumping of my own heart. Then I heard it, a low guttural growl emanating from somewhere deep within the office. It was a sound that sent chills down my spine, a primal fear that resonated in my very core. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I could feel a cold sweat breaking out on my skin. I tried to rationalize it, to dismiss it as a trick of the mind, but the growl was undeniable, a tangible presence that filled the darkness with an oppressive dread. I was trapped, alone in the darkness with this unseen terror. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help, but it remained stubbornly dead. My fingers trembled as I reached for the light switch, but it was unresponsive. Panic clawed at my throat, choking my already shallow breaths. The growl intensified, closer now, as if the creature was circling me, its unseen gaze boring into my soul. I could feel its presence, a cold, wet sensation that brushed against my skin, sending shivers of dread down my spine. A sudden sharp tap on the window startled me. I whipped around, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath catching in my throat. A pair of glowing red eyes stared back at me from the darkness beyond the glass, their malevolence unmistakable. The creature on the other side of the window moved, a grotesque, elongated shadow that shifted and writhed against the glass. It pressed its face against the window, its cold, wet nose pressed against the glass, its breath forming a mystic condensation that obscured the world outside. I was frozen, paralyzed by fear, my mind screaming for escape. But there was nowhere to go, no way out of this nightmare. The creature let out another guttural growl, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the building. Then it retreated, its red eyes disappearing into the darkness, leaving me alone with the chilling silence and the lingering fear. The lights flickered back on, the fluorescent hum returning to its monotonous drone. but the fear remained, a cold, gnawing sensation that wouldn't go away. I sat there, trembling, my mind racing, unable to shake the image of those glowing red eyes and the grotesque shadow that had pressed against the window. I finished the project, my fingers moving mechanically, my mind still reeling from the encounter. But I knew deep down that I would never be the same.